Women Innovators. Interviews with women with big messages and big missions, sharing their stories to inspire you to live your passion and step up to make the world a better place. Here's your host, Tami Patzer.
Hey, this is Tami Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce you to today's guest, Fonda Clayton. Fonda is the #1 best-selling author of Stop Giving Your Power Away. I love that title. She's also the creator of the Juicy Life show, and she's a coach for women. One thing about the Juicy Life, who wouldn't want a juicy life? I love that title. It just makes you want to just say, yes, I want that. Fonda teaches women who seem to have it all, but who might feel empty inside. She teaches them to trust and to know their bodies and to possess their own personal power. This is a quote that Fonda says, "Women compromise instead of telling their truth. When we tell our truth, we are power-filled and unstoppable." Fonda, I want to become power-filled and unstoppable. So tell me, how do I do that, and who do you help?
Well, thank you for that introduction. I mean, it was you were power filled in that moment. I was just like, yes, I wanted to say yes to you. So who do I help? I help women who seem to have it all. They've got all the trappings, they've got the dog and the cat and the kid and the husband and the car, and they've got all these things, and there's just, you know what I mean? But there's something missing, and she feels guilty because there's something missing, because these are the things that are supposed to fill our cup. And she wants more. She needs more. She feels like her mortality is like kind of crashing in on her. And she's a thinker and she's a doer, but she doesn't necessarily know how to be. And that's the woman that I help, to help ground her, so that she can have balance in her life.
Wow. So I've been there. I raised my hand, even the dog, the cat, the kids. The only thing I didn't have was a husband. So I was always a little like this in everything that I did. So tell me, how do you do that? How do you help this woman who obviously is a strong, powerful woman to begin with? Mm-hmm. And she's got a lot of responsibilities and, the whole ball of wax. What is it that you do to help her?
Well, first and foremost, like across the board with all my clients, what ends up happening is that because she's the leader, people in her life don't necessarily know that she needs help, because she intimidates a lot of people. So therefore, she doesn't have anyone to lean on. So I become that person for her. And I give her permission to go for and to ask for and to tell the truth about how she's feeling. Because she's a thinker, she's a doer, she doesn't know how to feel. So I teach her how to trust what she's feeling, like her heart and her gut, and to bring that up so that we can look at it and create a vision for how to execute a plan to get her just that.
Wow, that just sounds, just listening to it, it brings back all these memories. Do you have any stories of people you've helped that you can share so that you can illustrate some scenarios? I'm
Sure.
very visual, so I'm trying, everything you say, I'm imagining. And if I don't have someone else to think about, I think about me.
Sure. So I have a client, we'll call her Brenda, okay? And she was married kind of for 10 years. And she's kind of bipping along with her life and her marriage. And she was pretty happy. But she came to me and she said, Fonda, something's missing. And I'm afraid to tell my husband because I think he might want to leave me if I tell him the truth. I want to have a baby. And so while we worked together, I just asked her a series of questions like, do you want this baby over your marriage? Like, if you had to choose one, which do you want more? And she said she wanted a baby more.
Wow.
And so I said, well, so okay, so now we need to execute a plan. Like, do you want to have a baby with your husband? Do you want to, do you want to do it outside of the marriage? Do you really think that it'll come to divorce? That type of thing. But a funny portion of this story is that she was going to sleep in a onesie. I mean, with the feet in and everything, Tammy. I was just kind of like, well, this can
That's
have.
kind of non-conducive to having a baby.
I mean, we
But that's almost like being a baby.
exactly. So I was like, well, the first things first, we need to get you out of the onesie. And I was just so we investigated that, and so I said to her, well, listen, because she's already over 40, and I said, well, listen, let's just decide that you're going to have fun with your husband in this way. You enjoy being intimate with him, so just do that, because she had already decided that she didn't want to a doctor's help. And I tell you what, Tammy, in a few months of her discontinuing wearing her onesie, she got pregnant, and now her son is 15, and she was able to keep her marriage at the same time, and so she feels much more fulfilled because she gave herself that opportunity to tell the truth about what she really wanted for her life.
And I bet her husband, like I sometimes I think men they'll go with the flow. And so unless she said, hey, I want to have a baby, he may have like going, well, she doesn't ever talk about it, and she's always wearing that onesie to bed. So she was sending the message of, I don't want to be intimate. And of course, if you're not going to be intimate and you're wearing a onesie, your husband might get the idea that that a baby's not anywhere near what you're thinking about. Isn't that funny?
Right. Plus, she, one of the agreements of them getting into marriage was that they didn't want children
at the time, because
but 10 years in, she changed her mind. I mean, we are allowed to change our minds, and a lot of times we don't give ourselves the permission or the room to change our minds. And, we go the path, even though we might not be happy,
I think that's a really important point, that it's okay to change your mind, because if you look at our life cycles, and I don't know how long Brenda knew her husband, but think about it, in your 20s, you're growing and changing and doing all these things. And especially today with careers, even into your 30s, you might be thinking, well, I want to get married, but I want my career because that's important. And so you're not thinking about kids. And then all of a sudden you realize when you're about 40 or so that, gee, if I ever want to have children, I better do something now, because it will definitely time out for people. But I think that's a really good point, that it's okay to change your mind. And I'm thinking about different, personally, of course, how guilty we feel when we think what we wanted turns out not to be what we want, because, they do say, be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. Because I remember thinking that when I met the person I had my 2 children with, that, oh, I could just hang out with him forever. Well, it didn't take long for me to figure out, gee, that would be a really boring existence, because we didn't ever do anything. Yeah. And I really enjoy traveling. So I had to make a decision that it was time for me to move on. And that was very difficult. You also have a client and you have, her name is Mary. She's a single mom, and she's dealing with her mother. Can you tell me more about her?
Sure. She came to me. I had done a video and I posted it on Facebook, and I just really wanted to help give the perspective that, you can lose your center and how to regain it, especially when life is happening and it kind of happens in a snowball. And you're just kind of like, well, how am I supposed to dig myself out of this avalanche? Well, she came to me because she was afraid that she was losing patience with her daughter, and she was overwhelmed, and she's got work, and she's got homework to do with her kid, and the whole thing. And then she was having like a real rift with her own mother, and she didn't understand that her mother couldn't see her, and didn't feel accepted by her mother. And then after we were working together, I got her to understand that maybe this was a pattern, that her mother's mother treated her this way. And so she was able to admit that and to see that, and to kind of like give her mom, not like to excuse any behavior, but to really give herself a little bit of breathing room to not take it so personally. And to also create some tools for her to do on a daily basis, wouldn't take a whole bunch of time, so that she could have balance and patience with her own daughter, so she didn't have to keep repeating the cycle. So
the cycle.
And the cycle ends with her. Should she continue, with these practices, then yes, absolutely.
I think that's really interesting, because I'm hearing this theme with women, especially. We take on the responsibilities of the world on our shoulder, and then we wonder why we don't feel so hot and why we feel like we're juggling. I remember seriously one time I felt, and I actually counted all of the hats I had to wear and the things I needed to do, the people I needed to be. I had to be 23 people. Think about it. And it was like, I was so overwhelmed, because it was about the person who had to cook, the person who had to clean, the person who had to go work, the person who was the caretaker, the mother, the lover, the wife, all of these people. And it was like 23 different people, and thankfully not 23 different personalities,
right,
but doing the work of 23 people. And I was one person. And I was just so totally stressed out. And I would have been the perfect person for your book, Stop Giving Your Power Away, because that was one of the things I think that we do, is instead of saying no to these different issues, we just go, okay, I'll do it. It's just like they say, oh, give it to the busy person, they'll get it done. Right. And that was how people treated me, because I was so overly responsible. And you also talk about Carol, about weight and dieting. Can you tell me a little bit more about her story?
Sure. Carol became a single mom after a divorce of a little boy who has special needs. And so his diet was very regimented because of his special needs. And so she's overwhelmed. She's working full time, like, high position, high stress position. And she was kind of like going up and down in her dieting, like for 20 years or something like that. And she'd get a little result, and then she would, just kind of, do that. That's what we do. And she wasn't having fun with food, and she was afraid of food, and it was absolutely confusing. I mean, we can see what's happening out here. Like, it's just like, okay, this food is good today, then it's not good tomorrow, and like fat's not good, and it's all sugar. It's insanity.
Chocolate, coffee.
Yes. And it got to the point where she was actually, like, she had bought this kit where you were supposed to fit your food, pack it in, because that equated for the certain amount of ounces that she was supposed to eat of this particular thing. And she wasn't having any fun, and she wasn't losing any weight. As a matter of fact, she was gaining a little bit more weight. And so I was just like, wait a minute, this sounds insane. This, like, so we did a VIP day where we just spent the day together and, just did an assessment of what she wanted and who she was and to fit into her lifestyle. So luckily I love batch cooking and I love to cook, but I love batch cooking because who wants to be in the kitchen every day? Like you said, you're wearing all of these hats and you don't know if you're coming or going, you don't even remember if you got any sleep or if you dreamt anything when you went to sleep. So we spent the day together and long story short, did a cook, had, and I did a little bit of a bait and switch. I made it seem like I was going to do all the cooking and then I just would step away and was just like, okay, so what would you do? Because I wanted to empower her and to show her that she innately knew what she wanted and had her taste everything that she created so that she could see, oh, I can do this. And she lost 6 pounds by eating more. She was eating more. She loved what she was eating. She was excited about what she was eating. She was excited to go food shopping. And she found that she has time for all of it without having to put on another hat.
Wow. Isn't that amazing how when you actually do learn what foods to eat, that you actually do end up eating more, almost to the point where it's like you can't eat anymore because it's too much and it's all, and it tastes good and it's healthy. And I noticed that when I actually eat right, I actually can easily lose weight. It's when I don't pay attention to what I'm eating that I just, gain weight because there's something that happens when you start to pay attention. So your book was a #1 bestseller, and I thought this was interesting. It was a #1 bestseller under women's health and then also spirituality.
Yes.
So tell me more about your book and how the readers of it can benefit from it.
Sure. Well, it's women's health because I'm talking about a woman's body and how in society, how our bodies are objectified and talked about as if we don't even exist. We are throwaway items and we are the creator of life. Whether we create life physically or through our love, we are creators. But when you're made to feel as if you are a second rate citizen, you're looking outside of self to validate your worth. And then you leave the body behind, which is very dangerous because that's a playing field for disease to just come in, whatever it be, right? Even if it's aging prematurely, right? Because we're just ignoring it. And Stop Giving Your Power Away was actually written kind of on a dare. It wasn't the book I thought I was going to write. And it just kind of came through me because of the work that I had done when I was a massage therapist. People would come to me, which is why I'm a coach today, right? Because I was coaching them, not knowing I was coaching them, because I wanted to be able to support them with these deep emotional things they were going through. Women felt unworthy. They didn't feel comfortable in their bodies. They were too fat. They were too thin. They were too this. They were too that. They were never enough for them. And compiled with the story of society saying that we just don't matter. I mean, we feel this way sometimes, especially with this election that just happened. I mean, it's incredible.
I hear you on that.
Right? So the book was about, hey, listen, I see you and I want you to start to notice you because you are the first teacher. You matter. This body that you're in, no matter what it looks like, no matter the shape, size, sexual orientation, any of it, you're here, so you matter. And when we give our power away by, I think Maya Angelou said that when you're being plucked to death by a duck. You don't really necessarily feel it, but then you feel that your ear is missing and then the side of your face is missing, because people are saying things and you're letting it in and you're letting it matter because you don't necessarily haven't taken the time to really know that you matter. Sorry, that was long-winded, but
well, no, it's fascinating to me because that power, like you said, we need to be told that it's okay to be whoever we are. It's okay, no matter, what we look like, if we're fat or we're thin or we have wrinkles or whatever it is. And that's one of the reasons why I'm enjoying this video exchange today, and why I like Facebook Live, for example, is because it's giving people an opportunity to get out there and allow themselves to be seen and heard, and to give people a voice. And the more you do it, the more you become less self-conscious about yes. all of the little imperfections and flaws. So it is very empowering. Mm-hmm. And think about the children growing up with this. They should be empowered with it, and not disempowered, but I really do, get when you mention the election, because there are some extremely hateful, derogatory words spoken that no woman should ever allow to be said to or about them. So, of course, we could talk about that all day long, but I want this to be very powerful for us. So you talk about getting our attitude, I guess, getting a healthy attitude, it becomes a more healthy total person. Is that how that works?
Yes. So I've got this running theme throughout my practice. I call it minding your own business. You, the vehicle, you, Tami, me, Fonda, this is my earth suit. This is my business. And, if I'm concerned about what you think more than what I think about myself, then I have left myself open to everyone's opinion. And I get I can get picked at. But if I mind my own business, and if I'm home and I'm from home, then I create a boundary that no one can cross. Like my favorite movie, Dirty Dancing, nobody puts baby in a corner, like no one gets to do that without your permission. I mean, Eleanor Roosevelt says that. It was one of my favorite quotes. No one gets to make you feel inferior without your permission. And I wanted to go back to my book for a second. There's a section in the book where it's called labels. And, we as women get labeled, 70 times a Sunday, depending on what we do or don't do with what's between our legs. And the book really addresses the elephant in the room, because if a woman is not at home in her body with what's between her legs, then it causes her to make certain decisions, or it makes her afraid to make other decisions based on what everybody else thinks or will say about it. She's called a prude, or she's called a hoe, or a slut, or this or that, and just like, President-elect uses the P word. And when men use that word, it's derogatory,
right,
toward other men, and to just absolutely slam us. I mean, just slam us to the ground. But in other circles, in sensuality circles, and sexuality circles, this is a word of empowerment. So this is how we get to take our power back. It's like, okay, that doesn't necessarily have to be a negative word if I know how to use it for my own empowerment, if I see me as valuable and worthy. Am I my own business?
Well, that makes a lot of sense because when you go back to nobody can make you feel a certain way without your permission, it's claiming something that someone else is using in a negative way and you just turn it around
Yeah.
and make it positive. So can you tell me more about your programs? And before I ask you that question, I actually want to know more about the Juicy Life Show, your podcast. Tell me more about that, and then I'll ask you some other cool questions that I have.
Oh, thank you. So the Juicy Life Show was born out of this idea of, if you could create your life the way that you want to, what would that look like? What would it taste like? What would it feel like? So it's really like a sensual experience. So, and sensuality to me is about the five senses or the six senses, right? And, like how would I color my world? And what would I eat for dinner? And who would I have conversation with? Because it's about the intimate exchanges that we have, internally and with other people. Like we're having a juicy exchange. Like I feel jazzed by it, and if you could have it that way every day, then you'd create this wonderful life. Like you're setting your intention that I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna spread joy, I'm gonna spread love, I'm gonna just spread it everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's powerful. So in the show, I start out like really gently about productivity, and how we waste time. And coming down the pike, I'm going to be doing some interviews just like this, but I want to know from each woman and maybe some men too, what is your idea of juicy life? Because it's all different for every single person. You know what I mean? Like if I say to you soda, you know what kind of soda sparks up in your life. And that's the thing that jazzes you and turns you on. That's what I want to know about people. And then creating boundaries. You can't have a juicy life if you got no boundaries because you're being sucked dry.
Right. I hear that.
And so that's the investigation. And that's the conversation that I have on the Juicy Life Show.
Well, like I said, I love that title because like who wouldn't want to have a juicy life? And it immediately you start to think about, well, what is a juicy life? What about my life is juicy and what isn't? And I mean, you just start to have this internal conversation. Like today for me has been this really juicy day because I have done interviews with these phenomenal people. You are one of them. And it's just like everything is in flow. The conversations are great where I learned something. And it's like, this is a fun, juicy day for me. And it's like, put it in the calendar. This was a really good day because I got to talk to people and they shared things with me and it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I found out how much in common I have with different people. And then also how a conversation, like what you said, having a juicy conversation, it's like, how cool is that when you get to talk to people and they tell you little intimate details because you develop this bond of trust with them in this conversation. And then the cool thing is the audience, they get to hear this intimate conversation between two people talking about a subject. And it's like, wow, I can take this little golden nugget here, a little golden nugget here. And that's why I really like to do interviews is because I always learn something. So tell me more about, we talked about your book, Stop Giving Your Power Away, and that is available on Amazon. We've talked about the Juicy Life Show, and that's available on iTunes and I'm sure other places.
And Stitcher, yes.
And the cool thing about your show that I think is very notable is it was in a new and noteworthy top 100. And also, the Juicy Life Show is a video podcast, which makes you like at the top 0.5% of podcasts, because very rarely do people do a video podcast, but everybody really should. It's like it should be a no-brainer, but a lot of people do have the fear of being on camera. And that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to do these interviews, is get people to step, maybe they don't want to be on camera today, but maybe we'll just have a telephone conversation, like we went all out and we're doing the video conversation. And I have to thank you. You forced me to turn on my camera.
I had to see that pretty face.
And so I thought that was so funny, because it was like, oh, okay, push the button. And I just thought that was funny, because I have a friend I talk to all the time on Skype, and he always puts his camera on and I don't put mine on. So I just think it's funny how we do that. So tell me more about your services and how someone might be able to work with you.
Sure. Well, let me just say first and foremost, you're a wonderful interviewer.
Thank you.
I've been interviewed before, but like this exchange is just like, I feel like we can just stop recording and just keep. So that's really great. But one of the ways that people can work with me today is I have a program, a 30-day challenge called Center of Attention. And I created it because we forget how to make ourselves center of attention. The premise is, you hear that the flight attendants say, put on your oxygen mask before you put it on to help anybody else. But we don't do that in life. We're worried about this one and worried about that one. And I created this out of when I forgot about myself. And I had to reclaim pieces of myself. So the challenge doesn't take a lot of time. It's a video form, and it's self. You move yourself through it. There's a private Facebook group to discuss whatever comes up for you, and there are certain tools that you put in place and practice so that you can put yourself center of attention. Because what happens is, instead of going out and then having nothing for self, you go in and then things that you need come to you, and you can just kind of deal with them appropriately. Like you get to milk time, which is the thing that we don't have. We get to milk time. Like what a concept. It's available. It's online. I love it. People are getting great results from it. And they seem like really wackadoodle things to do. It's like, what does this have to do with being center of attention? But people do it and they're just like, yeah, I get it. So.
Wow. No, one of the things that I really like about you, and like, this is the first time we've ever met, but yes. It's like, you're just this energy that you emit. It's like this positive energy that just comes right through the airwaves, and I can feel it. And like you said, the wackadoodle, and I can just imagine, it's like hanging out with you is just like juicy. I mean, again, and it's funny because there's so many words that, to tell you the truth, until today, I doubt I would ever describe anything in my life as juicy, seriously. But I'm so attracted to that. And like I said, it's like, I want that. I want that. I want to have everything be exciting and really positive, and to attract all this wonderful positive thing. And then at the same time to give back, but not to be deflated and defeated by giving it all away, all that positive energy. And it's so cool to get the charge back and forth, so there's a balance that you actually, I guess, exude through the airwaves. And I think that's really cool. So You have a 30-day challenge, Center of Attention. Tell me how people can find out more about the 30-day challenge, and how can they find out more about you and your services?
Thank you for that. So the challenge, yes, okay. The URLs just kind of make my head do a thing. So it's fondaclayton.com/center-attention.
Okay.
Okay, and people can be a part of my blog and my tribe at fondaclayton.com. And everything is Fonda Clayton except for Twitter. Like, so Facebook, Pinterest, IG, Instagram, they're all Fonda Clayton. And Twitter is Mindful Fonda.
Okay, Mindful Fonda on Twitter. Do you have a favorite platform where you hang out a lot?
Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook. I hang out so much on Facebook that even I have a plug-in on my website that goes straight to Messenger. So if you message me from my website, it comes straight to my app. So I'm right there.
That's really a valuable piece of information, because it's funny because lately people have started to ask me what my favorite platform is, and I like Facebook, and they'll say, well, why? And I say, well, because that's where people hang out. And almost any time of the day or night, you can probably find somebody through Facebook. And like you said, even if you're away, if you have Facebook on your phone, you have the Messenger app, and boom, like whenever I travel, that's what I check. And then at home, the Facebook messages pop up. And of course, a lot of times I turn it off because it's very distracting. But really, Facebook is where a lot of people hang out. So I really appreciate that. Is there anything else that you would like to tell everyone that maybe we missed about you, your services, your book, or again, everybody, the Juicy Life show? I think that's what we all I want to go and check it out, because I saw some of the episodes on your website, and I said, oh, I've got to go listen to that. And the cool thing is, with podcasts being available on your in your car, you just boom, you go find the Juicy Life, and you can listen to every show that she's ever had, and then listen for new ones. That's what I love about technology today.
So do I. Technology really just lights all my bells. I'm so excited about the opportunities. But no, to answer your question, I think I really feel fulfilled. I think that hopefully we've given your audience some tidbits to walk away with, and to really think about, what parts of their life are juicy, what needs a little juice, and turn the volume up. I think that we're at a good place.
Okay.
I feel complete. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. So thanks a lot, Fonda. I really appreciate all your time today.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is Tami Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to Women Innovators with Tami Patzer. To learn more, please go to womeninnovatorsradio.com. And please do subscribe and share to spread the big messages and big missions to change the world.